Hello guys, and welcome back to another Sunday review. Now, as most of you will know by now, last week Prison Break started back with Season 5. Now, it has been gone for 9 years, I believe. Now, my Sunday review, I'm not only going to review the new Season 5, but I'm going to review all of Prison Break. So, let's start off where Prison Break started off with Season 1, where Lincoln Burrows had been arrested for the murder, and Michael Scofield broke into well, he didn't break into prison, he got himself arrested so he could break his brother out of prison. Now, in the process, he had to use the help of other people to do so. So in doing that, he had his cellmate Sucre, who we had to help so he could do all the stuff they need to do within the cell. And I'm going to skip over most of what they actually did because a hell of a lot went on. But Season 1 was very fast, furious, stuff constantly happening in it, stuff always changing, and it was very, very interesting to see the intricate details of which they go to. Because before Scofield went into the prison, he got a full upper body tattoo of the plans for, like, the blueprints for the prison. He got other different stuff tattooed on that he needed to do to get out, stuff that he needed once he get out, and even just stuff like certain bolts that he needed, so he could round off the bolts to turn it into an Allen key, so he could take one of the synced pieces in the prison cell, so he could get down into the pipes, just certain stuff like that. Really, really intricate detail that they went really deep into. It was absolutely fantastic, some of the details that they went to get what they needed for all this. Which I thought Season 1 was absolutely amazing. The details that they went to and how genius some of it really was. And come the end of Season 1, they broke out of the prison, which then they come into Season 2, and Season 2 doesn't even mention a prison at all really, but it's still following Scofield's plan. It's still got all these tattoos on him of what he's going to do when he gets out, where he's going to go, things he needs to see and do. And yes, quite a lot of it doesn't go to plan, but that's kind of the fun part of it. And it's just kind of that. I still like Season 2 in the fact that it followed the plans. I wasn't a fan of the fact that it was no longer in the prison, but I did like the idea that it followed Scofield's plan, and you could see all that hard work that he'd put into trying to break Link out, all that work that he'd put into doing that. You could actually see it all coming to pass, and you could see where it was all going. Now, come Season 3, he then got himself arrested at the end of Season 2, thrown into another prison called Sona, which is a Mexican prison. And at this point, he was starting to go off track a bit, because this is a point where this wasn't part of his plan. He didn't have any tattoos for this. He had no idea on how to get out, but he realised he'd been put in there the same way that Link had been set up. He'd been set up and put in there so he could break somebody else out. And now, Season 3, there was a writer's strike, so who knows where it could have gone if it had been a full season, but it was only 13 episodes long. So, with it being only 13 episodes long, it did end with them just getting out of that prison, the same way Season 1 ended. They just made it out, the two of them, with whatever they needed, and it actually ended up with his old mate Sucre getting thrown back in, which is his roommate from the first prison, which they helped break him out. Now, it did get lost within that season, I think, but then they started to redeem themselves a bit at the start of season 4, and there was a good solid plan going on there, a bit of an action-packed thing going on, of it became interesting again, of trying to clear their names, get themselves out of this shithole that there was in, and it became interesting again for the first quarter of the season, maybe even half of the season, but after that it just became boring and stale, and yeah, this whole business with the company, which is all they called it, just the company, which was a bunch of people that had set up Lincoln Boroughs so they could keep their secrets safe, basically. And in doing this whole setup angle and then everything leading back to the company, and it was getting stale and boring. And don't get me wrong, I was still interested to see where they was going to go with it, but it did become very stale and boring. And they kind of, I wouldn't say the last episode, but the way that they was ending the series with, they actually showed 4 years later where Michael had died, and that was interesting enough on its own, the fact that he died, because it was a really, really strong, powerful way to finish the series. After everything that he'd done for everyone, they all ended up fine, and he had a son as well, and he died, which, okay, fair enough, they'd done that, but then they added one more episode to show how he died, and it had shown that Sarah Tancredi, which was the doctor in the first prison, who left the door open for him and then went on the run with him and everything else that happened. He then ended up in a relationship with, had a kid with, but they showed that before they had the kid, at a point where she was pregnant, she then got arrested, thrown into this prison. Michael broke her out, and in doing so blew himself up basically and got himself killed. And as much as it was nice to see why he died, it was a pretty shit episode, really. There was so much more they could have done with it. But that being said, Michael's dead, and yet here we are with a season 5. And this one is now produced by Schofield and Burroughs, the two main people in it. Wentworth Miller and Dominic Purcell, the two people playing those roles, so they're the producers for it, because they've actually decided that they was the ones that wanted more Prison Break. And in doing this, they've created this new season, which is 7 years later. Now, they've done this as 7 years later, and he's now in a prison in Yemen, and they found out that he's not actually dead. And they've brought back all the old characters in it, and they've brought back T-Bag, which was one of my favourite people in it. Jim absolutely hated T-Bag, but I loved him. He was absolutely fantastic. He was in it from episode 1 pretty much of not episode 1 of season 5, but episode 1 of season 1. I'll just state that he was another convict that escaped with him, and so much happened with T-Bag where he was kind of with them but setting them up, and they hated him the entire time, but he always found a way to make himself useful to Schofield somehow. It was absolutely brilliant the way that somehow he always became useful to somebody. In the end of it, he got thrown into the prison. Now this is 7 years later, where he'd served his time, he got himself out, but in doing so, he'd also been sent a picture of Schofield, showing that he's still alive, which he then gave to Lincoln Burrows, who went out to Yemen to go find him. They also dug up his grave and found out that he wasn't in his grave, obviously because he's not there. But that also T-Bag had been given a shit ton of money to have a proper prosthetic hand done and made, which is fantastic, really. But who is this other party? Why have they sent this picture to him? Why has he now got a new prosthetic hand? Why is all this stuff happening around T-Bag? That we don't know, but it's very interesting, and I'm sure it will all unveil itself. But it has been said that this new season will give a viable reason as to why Schofield isn't dead, and why it's took him 7 years for him to even get known that he's not dead, let alone get himself out and home to his family. So apparently this season will reveal a lot about how that's happened and how he's got away with it. Now, we'll also say as well that throughout the original series, he suffered from brain tumour, which was causing him to have nosebleeds. And at the end of it, he did have that sorted, but in that final break episode, which again was terrible, the tumour had come back, and that's why he kind of killed himself. He wasn't deliberately killing himself, but he knew that it didn't matter if he did kill himself, due to the fact that he was going to die anyway. So if he's still alive, how did they deal with this whole tumour situation? Because surely he should have been dead anyway by now. If the explosion didn't kill him, the tumour should have done, and there's still a lot unanswered. But it's nice to see that they're unveiling all these things slowly. And is it part of Schofield's plan? Has he been tricked by someone? Was he brought in by somebody else? We don't entirely know what's going on, but there's a lot of things happening very quick, and it's very interesting to see where they're going with it. And one other thing is with it that we don't know who it is that has set all this up, has hidden everything, because the name Michael Scofield has completely been erased from history. He's now got a completely new name as Kaniel Autis, I think it is. So yeah, he has been completely erased from history. So it's interesting to see who has the power to even do that. So I'm very intrigued to see where they're going to go with this, and with the season being a short one of only 9 episodes, and there is no talks of a season 6. So what they plan to do here could wrap up in these 9 episodes, but it's going to be very quick, fast, and get to the point very quickly. There's going to be lots happening, and 2 episodes in, we're only just starting to unveil it, so I think there's still a long way to go with where they're going to go with it. And here's to hoping that it does raise enough interest to keep going and get more seasons. But this is my overall review on it. I did like quite a bit of it. Season 1 was fantastic. Season 2 was pretty decent. Season 3 was okay, but it kind of lost itself. And Season 4 was a bit of both. It was great at the start, terrible at the end. But still watchable. And coming Season 5, I can't give much of a review on it, as we're only 2 episodes in. But the way that it started off, it was interesting. But come the end of it, it has the potential to be great. and hopefully with that potential of it being great will come enough interest for him to do yet another season, but who knows. So that is my review on Prison Break. I would rate it 7.5 out of 10, and the only reason I'm giving it 7.5 is because I can't decide whether I should give it a 7 or an 8, but it doesn't deserve to be any higher than that due to the fact that that end of season 4 and that middle section where it just lost itself wasn't as great, but it has the potential to get back to its roots and get back to where it was in season 1, where it was completely unpredictable and you got to see Michael's plan as it was. And with Schofield's plan, it's just so, like, there's so much detail in it that if they do that again in this new season and you get to see all these details that are in it and just how clever it all is, then it'll be great. It will be absolutely fantastic, and hopefully then it'll push the ranking up a little bit. But that's it from me today, guys. That is my review on Prison Break. I will see you guys later and enjoy.